from time to time I am asked if I would show people how to sharpen different scrapers. There are a variety of different scrapers, but what I want to focus on is a thin card scraper. Why do we have thin card scrapers? Well, there are elements that sometimes, let's say we wanted to scrape something that's circular, maybe a rod like this, part of a tool handle and things like that. So we can flex this quite markedly. Look at this. It's very thin. This is 1/3 of a millimeter thick. A regular card scraper is twice as thick, about 0.74, 0.75, somewhere like that. So these don't flex as much. And when I've sharpened this, I'll show you how it works. But what we want to do is, first of all, just discuss the different stages. The first level is going to be to file the card scraper edge dead square, or near enough to square if we can. The second one is going to be consolidate both sides of the scraper. I'll explain that in a minute. Third one is consolidating the edge. And then the fourth stage is going to be to turn the edge. And that means we're going to create a hook. It's going to send itself. We're going to send the steel into itself. So let me show you what I mean by that. The first stage is going to be to file this. Now, this is because it's so thin, when you stand it on edge, it flexes quite a bit. So there are a couple of things you can do. You could put this in the vise like this, which you will need to do just to file it. Take a flat file, a 10-inch steel file, single cut file, drop it on the edge and push from one end to the other like this. Usually 2 or 3 times. That will remove any defects in the edge, and it doesn't have to be dead square because we don't actually end up with a dead square edge. Once you've done that, it will have a burr on each side, just slight. That's not the burr that we're looking for in a card scraper. We call it a burr, but that's a misnomer. We're actually turning a hook on the edge. Take your flat file and just push it like that, and keeping it flat on the surface of the scraper. Flip over. Because this is so thin, we don't really want an abraded surface. What we want is a cut surface, and that's the advantage of these teeth on the file. They actually cut and spiral off, so I don't have any burr on either side. I have no burr on the edge. What I want to do next is I want to consolidate this edge. So by consolidate, I mean something like this. I take the burnisher. This is just a piece of hardened steel. This is harder than the scraper. And what I do is I push this back and forth along the edge, maybe about 10 or 15 times like this. That's sending the steel into itself on that side. This is called consolidation. Do the same on the opposite face. Now you can do both edges on a card scraper, so I could do this edge just the same way I did this edge. So now I don't have any burr. I've got rid of that. Now I want to consolidate this edge, and how we do that, we take a rag and we wrap it like this. Now, because this is so thin, I suggest instead of trying to keep it straight, because it's going to flex back and forth, bend your scraper, put the steel against that edge and pull up and keep it square. Don't try and turn anything yet. We're keeping it square because we're sending it into itself, and that will create like a T. Now I've done that, I'm gonna put a burr on this edge. It's not really a burr, it's a turned edge, but we call it a burr for some strange reason. So what we start doing now, if I hold this way, I've been consolidating 90 degrees, but now I want to gradually lift up with each stroke to something like that. There isn't any way that you can measure this. Once I've done that, I turn the steel piece around and I do the same again. And I lift up and I lift up, and I end up with this very lovely, sophisticated edge. This is the most sophisticated edge in any woodworking tool, and it's really a remarkable edge, and I'll show you why shortly. So we're going to bend the scraper, consolidate like this into itself, sending the steel into itself, and now we're going to start angling over with each stroke. Now I've already got a burr, I can feel it on that edge, and that is the turned edge. Now I've turned my steel piece of my scraper around, and now I'm bending again, and I pull up, keep pulling as many times as you like. So I now have, if I put my fingers on here, I've got the most sophisticated cutting edge capable of being made. It's very thin. We have to renew that from time to time. Now, how does this work? If I'm working on a piece of round stock, I'm going to put this in the vise, and I wouldn't normally do this way, but it's just so you can see the result of me having turned that edge. So I've got this beautiful turned edge. Watch this, see how it conforms? This gives me a wide scraped surface, and I get shavings like this, and it's beautiful. And you might say, well, I don't have any dowels that I want to shave. You can go with a smaller dowel like this. This is beech wood. So you can pull up, and these shavings just whisk off, and you can bend a thin card scraper quite thin, and you can get a wider shaving doing it that way. So that's one thing. But what happens if you have an area in a piece of wood, a surface like this, and you've got an area that you want to get down, but you want to do it, feather it into a very small area. If I take this scraper now, instead of sanding and scraping the whole area, I might be able to do this. I just flex the scraper like this, and I can take out that midsection with a few strokes just by bending that scraper. Look what I get. I get these beautiful, and I've got rid of my defect. Now I can feather in on either side, and when I come to put my finish off on, that will be absolutely, it'll have disappeared.